you log into Navigator using your web browser, and all of your exploring can be done in the web browser too. There's no need to open another program. Similarly, if you want to use Navigator on a mobile device, you don't need an extra app. You can do it all within your browser app. Once you're inside of this product, you'll notice one of its differences compared to our flagship product, the Lolly database. When you work in Lolly, most of your exploration is done via substance level. So the information is organized by list, and on those lists you have substances listed by CAS number. Now in Navigator, that information is organized by country. So for example, where you might have run your chemical that you produce against the lists in Lolly and found that it was not on the inventory in Australia, you could go to Navigator to find out what that means for you. So within Australia, out of the topics that we cover, you'd visit the inventory section, and you'd read here what it means to not have a chemical on the Australian inventory of chemical substances and find out whether you were subject to notifications. All of these topics are interrelated, which is why it's nice to read them together. With that said, the topics that we cover in Navigator are structured similarly within each country. So we cover inventory information, substance registration, product registration, which at this point covers pesticides and biocides, and then any specific notifications that have to happen for your substances. Within the hazard communication area, we cover the important details to know for classifying your substances. So, is GHS adopted in that country? What are the rules for classifying a product that the competent authority has decided, their cutoff values and concentration limits? Which of the building blocks from the GHS have been adopted or not? And then what should your safety data sheet look like? Now, many of us were hoping when the GHS was first established that the safety data sheets would start to look more like each other and that you could have a global template. So one of the ways that we've addressed that question here is by, for each country, showing you what has to be in the safety data sheet compared to a golden standard, in this case the GHS Revision 6 section recommendations. So for each section, when it does perfectly match up to the GHS, we've grayed out and said fully implemented, but for other sections we've shown you how it will be different in that country. So once you become familiar with this layout, you can use that to compare and contrast between countries, and we'll do some of that as we go along. Now, when you are the person working to put together safety data sheets and labels for the country, or somebody interested in protecting the business interests of your company, you'll be very interested to know what the trade secret requirements and provisions are. Now, in some countries, there's a limitation on what substances can be claimed trade secret or not. It could be depending on their hazards, their presence on certain lists, so you'd be running back to Lolly again to find out if your substances were on those lists. And then, if you can claim it a trade secret, there may be an application to go through. Whenever these requirements exist, we summarize them for you. And if somebody says, why is that the case? We give you the source so that you can check into that too. So a note on the sources while we're here: whenever an English language official translation of a non-English source is available, we give that to you. We always give you official sources. When it comes to sources versus resources, a source is where the official information in the regulation is stated. A resource is something that we know is going to help you as you're trying to do your work. So let's go next to visit Brazil. And I'll do that via the home page. You can see our list of countries is down the right hand side. Currently 45 countries are covered by the Navigator product. I can select Brazil from this list. On the home page, I immediately get an overview of how regulated this country is. I see that it doesn't have an inventory, but I've also heard in the news lately that there is something going on with Brazil's inventory. So when I visit this page, I get the most important point, that is, there's not an inventory right now, but I can also read all about the draft law that's coming into place. we've given you the exemptions that are available in that draft law, and also a really important definition that's going to be relevant for you. Now this is a case where that draft law is only available in Portuguese, so this summary that we've put forward for you is going to be incredibly valuable in understanding what may be coming to pass in Brazil. And as I said earlier, we're going to become very familiar with that layout of the sections of the safety datasheet page. You can see how Brazil compares to the implementation in Australia here. And the trade secret information too. Now let's jump to Macau to take a look at how we cover an even less regulated country. And once I'm within Macau, I wanted to show you that you can search within every country to find out details on a very specific topic. So let's see what Macau is doing as far as classification. Now I can see on this page that GHS has not been implemented in Macau. They have a couple of other regulations to look at, which if I needed to read the source regulations, I would need to be able to read Portuguese or traditional Chinese, which I don't. Luckily this summary is in English, so I can see what's going on with the classification in Macau. Now, having seen how much information there is to read on each of these countries, I may want to take some offline. For further perusal. If I want to do that, I can create a PDF of any country that I'm in. That PDF is organized in the same way that each country is, and that can be saved and stored on your computer. Now, why don't I just want to rely on those PDFs? Well, this product is updated as regulations change. You can see on the right-hand side here, we talk about the things that are going on in each country. So whenever you come back to visit Navigator, you can see the latest information. Now this product is updated every 6 months, so we're not giving you every tiny incremental change and lots of noise drowning out what's going on. Instead, when there is substantial change, it's incorporated along with the insights that go with that. When those updates occur on March 1st and September 1st of each year, you'll receive an email that summarizes all of the new content that's been integrated. Also on the homepage, you'll find summaries of the type of topics that we cover in Navigator. Navigator includes information for general industrial chemicals and for agrochemicals, meaning pesticides, biocides, and plant protection products. So for those groups, you'll find inventories, substance registration, product registration, notification, and STS and label information. But if you're curious what we mean by inventory, or by registration or notification, you'll find those definitions here and get pointed to some of the prominent global examples of each type of regulation. These pages will be especially useful if a topic is new to you. So if you've recently been assigned the task of working on safety data sheets and labels, where typically you might have to take a training to get to grips with the basics of what that is, you can read this information and become familiar with the types of acronyms, the type of topics that are relevant for your new work. If you're interested in seeing more of Navigator, trial accounts are available. This can help you get used to the type and the depth of the information that we cover. And you can contact info@ChemADVISOR to get access to those trial accounts. So thank you for listening to this information on ChemADVISOR Navigator, and we'd be happy to take your questions.